and very much appreciate it. Who here has heard of the word heirlooms? Okay, very good. I will say I had never heard the word, or I'm not familiar until yesterday. And I am here to make a speech on the word. Quite an interesting approach, perhaps, but the concept itself, I just quite appreciate it. I didn't even know there's a word for it. So I'm pretty excited to know the word heirloom now. But yeah, yesterday I was just looking around my living room and figuring out what would be an interesting topic to talk about. And I think I looked around, and a lot of the items in my living room were items that were passed down, and I love it. So I'm here to talk about that. And the goal is to perhaps inspire at least one of you to think, oh, there might be even more value to passing on items to others, or even seeking out loved ones and like figuring out if there could be a path for some of those items to go towards you eventually. And so today's speech, I will share some examples of some items that I like, and they were passed down to me. I think it's enriched my life, and perhaps spark some ideas for y'all. And we'll sort of try to put a bow on the speech. So let me try to share my screen here real quick. All right. All right. Can you see this? Hopefully we can see this. This thing, I love this thing. It's like an old dollhouse. I think can hold one of those box TVs, was its original intent. But the top opens up. You can swivel it open. There's a little compartment on the bottom. And my family has a group text about 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was my dad sent out a text saying, "Hey, we don't have space for this. Would anyone be interested?" And I reserved it for when I had a home. And that finally came to fruition when I bought a home in September. And I was at the top of my to-do list was to get this thing into my new home. And I quite like it. Originally, I think we had a TV in there at one point, and then eventually it was in our playroom. So we'd use the top, throw basketballs off of it. It's a good alley-oop. You can throw it off of it, dunk it into one of those little Tykes hoops. So that was, I would say, its prime use. A really good alley-oop mechanism because of the angle. The ball can bounce and bounce up. So it's really good, really good. Then it became a blanket hub. And so that was the go-to place to get a blanket in our home. And that is its current use right now, amongst others, amongst other junk that is in there at the moment. But it's enriched my life. That thing got passed on as a childhood staple. All my family, when they come over, they're very familiar with this old dollhouse, and I'm a big fan. I'll share another example that I saw when I was looking around my living room. This is an old radio that was in my childhood home. My dad loves to pass on items as well and see them continue. And so this is now in my home, and I love it. It actually works. The nephews come over and they get really excited when there's an actual connection, because it's fuzzy mostly, and then you'll get some random connection, and it's quite satisfying. And then on top of this thing is an old level. It was my dad's grandpa's level. You pick up this level, and it's like heavy duty, just quality. They just built things differently back in the day, and it's quite nice to have a level that has many stories, a lot of use, a lot of tradition, a lot of history to it. And I think it even brought a lot of joy to my dad to see this thing pass along. And so I think it's just a win-win-win-win-win, just everyone benefits from items being taken care of, passing along generations or even to friends and seeing it continue. And so those are just a few examples. Oh, just another sort of random item. This is an old birdhouse that's just a classic at a cabin of my family's in Idaho. And I always love seeing it. So it's just an example of, hey, maybe you can even make something that you can pass along eventually, and that can carry a story, how you made it. So I think there's all sorts of options for items that can be passed along and enrich the life of a loved one. And so those are just a few of the examples. I think another one, I'll share a quick other example. My mom had a little dollhouse as a kid. And I actually like visiting that as well when I go to my grandparents. And then my dad ended up building one kind of based on that inspiration. And so I grew up with a little playhouse. And so I think that's another way is like when you had something in a childhood home and like recreating that and making something, just another example. I'll summarize how it enriches my life and hopes to inspire some of y'all to consider it more closely. I think I even made a speech on this. Items carry stories. And I think when you look at an item, it can bring back a feeling or a memory. And so I think it's important to surround ourselves with items that can enhance and bring back positive memories. And then I think it also, I was just thinking through this, it's you just care for items a little bit better. And so I have a bunch of junk pans in my kitchen right now, but it's like, oh, if I bought really quality stainless steel, like built to last items that I could pass along to grandkids, or I think it would be quite neat. Yeah, one other example, I'm actually about to get married in March, and my fiance, I haven't shared that. So very excited, very thankful. Her name is Laura. She's wonderful. And she has this little doll that her nephew or niece would always play with. And she grew up with that doll. They take such good care of it. They put the little boots back on the doll. And it's quite nice to see just an item being taken care of and it continue to pass along. It's just a rich thing to experience. And I think that's all I have to say really on the matter. I'm excited. I know the word heirloom now. And I think the concept as a whole, I'm sure you all are familiar. I'm probably preaching to the choir for many of y'all, but I think it's just something to be conscious of the items and the stories they carry and passing things along, taking care of items. And in conclusion, I hope I inspired at least one of you. I think Victor looked perhaps inspired at one moment, maybe not. But thanks for the time. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster.